In a stunning turn of events, Sheikh Hasina, the long-serving Prime Minister of Bangladesh, has resigned. After 15 years at the helm, Hasina fled to neighboring India amidst a wave of protests engulfing the nation. The demonstrations, initially sparked by student opposition to a controversial job quota system, quickly escalated into a nationwide call for her removal. With the country teetering on the brink, the Bangladesh army, with alleged support from the United States, has stepped in to establish an interim government. The international community is closely monitoring the volatile situation. The United States, while not explicitly condemning the military intervention, has emphasized the need for a swift return to democratic processes. The United Kingdom and Germany have echoed these sentiments, urging all parties to prioritize a peaceful and democratic transition of power. Amnesty International and the United Nations have expressed deep concern over potential human rights violations, urging the interim government to uphold the rule of law and protect fundamental freedoms. The abrupt change in leadership has sent shockwaves through Bangladesh and beyond, raising questions about the country's political future and the implications for regional stability. The international community's response, particularly that of the United States, will undoubtedly play a crucial role in shaping the path Bangladesh takes in the coming weeks and months. Sheikh Hasina's 15-year rule was a complex tapestry of progress and repression. Her tenure witnessed significant economic growth, lifting millions out of poverty and transforming Bangladesh into a rising economic power in South Asia. However, this economic progress came at a cost: the gradual erosion of democratic institutions and the suppression of dissent. Over the years, Hasina's government faced mounting criticism for its increasingly authoritarian tactics. Opposition voices were silenced, media outlets were muzzled, and human rights activists faced intimidation and harassment. Her government's heavy-handed response to any form of criticism created a climate of fear and stifled political discourse. The controversial job quota system, which sparked the initial protests, was seen by many as a blatant attempt to consolidate her power and appease certain segments of the population. This move, coupled with long-standing grievances over corruption and human rights abuses, proved to be the final straw for many Bangladeshis who felt increasingly marginalized and unheard. What began as student-led protests against the job quota system quickly transformed into a nationwide movement demanding an end to Hasina's rule. The protests, fueled by years of pent-up frustration and anger, spread like wildfire across the country, uniting Bangladeshis from all walks of life. The government's response was swift and brutal. Security forces clashed violently with demonstrators, using tear gas, rubber bullets, and even live ammunition to disperse the crowds. Reports of widespread arrests, disappearances, and extrajudicial killings emerged, painting a grim picture of the government's crackdown on its own people. As the protests intensified, so did the calls for Hasina's resignation. The international community, initially hesitant to intervene, began to express growing concern over the escalating violence and the government's disproportionate use of force. With the situation spiraling out of control, Hasina, facing mounting pressure both domestically and internationally, made the calculated decision to flee to India, leaving her country teetering on the precipice. The international community's response to the unfolding crisis in Bangladesh has been cautious and measured. The United States, while expressing concern over the military's intervention, has stopped short of condemning it outright. Instead, the Biden administration has called for a swift return to democratic rule and urged all parties to exercise restraint and engage in dialogue. The European Union has adopted a similar stance, calling for a peaceful resolution to the crisis and emphasizing the importance of upholding human rights and the rule of law. The United Nations has expressed deep concern over the situation and urged the interim government to ensure the safety and security of all citizens, including political opponents and minority groups. Neighboring India, which shares a long and porous border with Bangladesh, has been particularly concerned about the potential for spillover effects. The Indian government has deployed additional troops along the border to prevent an influx of refugees and is closely monitoring the situation for any signs of instability that could threaten its own security. India, already grappling with its own set of internal challenges, is watching the unfolding events in Bangladesh with a mixture of apprehension and caution. The Modi government, acutely aware of the potential for instability to spill across its borders, has taken steps to secure its frontier with Bangladesh. The deployment of additional troops, coupled with heightened surveillance along the border, reflects India's anxieties about the potential for a mass exodus of refugees should the situation in Bangladesh deteriorate further. Beyond the immediate security concerns, India is also grappling with the broader geopolitical implications of the crisis. A destabilized Bangladesh, vulnerable to extremism and susceptible to external influence, would pose a significant challenge to India's strategic interests in the region. The Indian government is also mindful of the potential for the crisis to exacerbate existing tensions with Pakistan. Islamabad, which has a history of meddling in Bangladeshi affairs, might see an opportunity to exploit the situation to its advantage, further complicating India's security calculus.
We are living in uncertain times. The political changes have left many of us worried about our future and the stability of our nation.
As a refugee, I have faced numerous challenges. The situation in Bangladesh has made it even harder for us to find safety and security. We hope for peace and stability soon.
The political upheaval in Bangladesh is not just a regional issue, it has far-reaching implications. The international community must come together to support a peaceful resolution and ensure that the rights and well-being of all citizens are protected.